Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming to this online panel on the Chinese mobile games market, cracking the Chinese mobile games market secrets to be successful. So this event is a collaboration between SocialPeta and all the panelists here. So I will introduce myself first. My name is Darang Chandra. I'm the director for Southeast Asia and East Asia Research at Niko Partners. Niko Partners is a games market intelligence firm that have been tracking the games industry in China and Asia and the Middle East since 2002. So with us today, we have four wonderful gentlemen here. The first one is Mr. Charlie Chow, the head of business development at SocialPeta. Maybe Mr. Charlie, you can introduce yourself to us.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Charlie, head of BD from SocialPeta. SocialPeta is an ad intelligence platform from where you can get all ad creatives, ad promotion strategies, app download, and revenues data from your competitors globally to optimize your publishing and user growth strategies. Nice to meet you all.
Thank you so much, Charlie. And then we also have Ernest Lebediev from Gismart. He is the China marketing lead at Gismart. Okay, Ernest, can you introduce yourself to us?
Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone. I am, yes, as been said, China marketing lead at Gismart. Gismart is a mobile app developer company. We mainly focus our products on health and fitness, utility, and music niche. So we'll be very glad to share some information, insights to China with you.
All right, thank you so much, Ernest. And then with us, we also have Daniel Camilo, the marketing director at APPTUTTI. So over to you, Daniel.
Hi, very happy to be here as well. Yeah, I'm the marketing director for APPTUTTI. APPTUTTI is a gaming publisher based in China, focused on mobile games and focused exclusively on helping international developers and publishers to launch their games in China. So only non-Chinese games. So that's what we do. We help with the regulatory side of it, the distribution, marketing, everything, localization. So yeah, that's what we do.
All right, thank you so much, Daniel. And then lastly, we have Wojtek Jaworski from Huqiao. So Wojtek, can you describe yourself to us as well?
Yeah, of course. First of all, I must say that I really appreciate the initiative of this panel. These initiatives are important, having webinars like this and sharing the know-how. So my name is Wojciech Jaworski, 但是我的中文名字叫严立行. And so my Chinese name is Yan Lixing. I run a company called Huqiao, and we are based in Europe, in Poland. We work mostly with PC and mobile game developers and publishers. Right now, we are a team of 15 people, and we believe in transparency, partnership, and sharing knowledge. So again, kudos to SocialPeta for organizing this event. Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much, Wojtek. So as I think some of the panelists already mentioned, the target of this panel is to discuss how to enter China, how to understand China, and the intricacies of the Chinese mobile games market. And we hope through this panel, you all can unravel the mysteries behind successful game publishing in China, explore the market trends, user behaviors, regulation, and then find effective strategies for you or your company to navigate the dynamic landscape in China. And with us today, as there are four gentlemen here, the way I will hold this panel is that first, I will ask a general question to everyone on the panel, and everyone will have the time to answer that question. And then after that, I will go one by one through each of the panelists, and you will receive one specific question. All right, I hope that is all clear. And now for the general question for everyone. First, can you highlight the features of the mobile games market in China, especially the difference between China and other countries? And then a follow-up to that question would be, what are the primary challenges that you have experienced when entering the Chinese market? I think we can go to Ernest first.
Yeah, sure. So not exactly games, but apps, but I guess it would be, yeah, more or less the same. I would say that China has a very developed ecosystem of trafficking platforms and payment platforms such as Alipay and WeChat Pay, which we do not have abroad. So it's very common thing in China. I'd say that another thing that you have to consider before entering China is very fragmented Android market. So there are like 1,000 of Android stores which have a different rules applied to apps and games to enter. So obviously some laws and regulations that applicable within mainland of China that you have to oblige. So hopefully there are people like APPTUTTI, Daniel, who can help you with obtaining those things, because either you gonna have a Chinese entity, or you have to go for agency's help. So apart from that, I'd say that a very fierce competitive market with very developed apps. So super apps, which have apps inside of apps. Let's say if you have a WeChat, you don't need any other app whatsoever. You can play there, you can order food, you can order anything. So it's, I'd say in general, it's a really, as other guys said, panelists before, different planet with a bit different rules, but it's still possible to get in there and be successful. I'd say like that. So thank you.
Thank you, Ernest. So you mentioned like the issue with fragmented Android market, with the existence of super app, and a fierce competition from like local players as well. So maybe we can jump to Charlie and mention like with like this situation with the environment, with the fragmentation of the Android market, with the existence of the super app, what do you think everyone should know about China, and what are the challenges from SocialPeta standpoint?
Okay, thank you. I want to say some important issues about the China mobile market. Okay, so the mobile market in China has several unique features and differences compared to the other countries. Okay, firstly, it's a huge market size. China has the largest number of the users in the world, over 1.4 billion mobile users. This huge user base presents big opportunities for app developers and service providers. Okay. Secondly, unique app ecosystem. Yeah, China has its own app ecosystem, different from the global app market. As you know, Google Play is not available in China, but lots of domestic app stores instead. So the leading ones include the App Store in China, Huawei App Gallery, Xiaomi, Oppo, Vivo stores, and several third-party stores. So these app stores have specific requirements and regulations for developers to publish their apps to China market. Yeah, thirdly, dominance of super apps. Yeah, super apps such as WeChat, Alipay are very popular in China. So these apps offer a wide range of service, including message, social media, e-commerce, payment, and food delivery, and more. And lastly, developed mobile payment. Yeah, China is a global leader in mobile payment. Mobile payments are widely used for various purposes, including online shopping, offline payments, transportation, and even street vendors. So regarding to mobile app and mobile game market, firstly, I want to say the mobile gaming industry in China is particularly growing. Yeah. So China mobile game market generated over 40 billion US dollar revenue in 2023. So with 14% growth compared to 2022. So making it the largest gaming market globally. Yeah, in addition to gaming, the mobile app market in China is also developed. So Chinese are using mobile apps for different purposes. So mobile apps have changed people's life in China. So we rely heavily on the convenience brought by mobile apps. However, to enter China market, there are several challenges, like cultural differences, like regulations, like localizations. So it's important to note that the mobile market in China is continuously developing, but you need to fully understand the situation if you are planning to enter China market. Yes, that's my view. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Charlie. And the next two panelists here, they know how to enter China market. So maybe we can go to Daniel first.
Yeah, well, as it was hinted by the previous panelists, obviously to enter China as a game developer or as a publisher, talking about the basics, it's important to know that you need to have a Chinese partner. Per regulations, per law, you need to have a Chinese publisher to publish your game in China if you want to do things right and by the books. So that means even if you're a publisher, you know, like we had recent cases on the news, even if you are someone like Activision Blizzard or whatever, you still need to partner up with another publisher to publish the games in China. So that's APPTUTTI, that's what we do. And like I mentioned before, we focus on mobile only, sometimes on PC, but it's mostly mobile. But we also advise, we get a lot of questions, of course, from developers from all over the world, and me personally as well. So we also advise them a lot on the conditions of the market, not just for mobile, but also if there are developers that have PC games or if they have console games, because of course that's a huge chunk of the gaming market worldwide, and those people they want to get their games in China, possibly and potentially, and so we try to talk to them about that. And in that regard, there's a lot of venues to get your games in China. From the mobile perspective, from APPTUTTI's perspective, I believe Ernest mentioned already, there's a lot of app stores for Android, of course. For iOS, it's only the App Store from Apple. But for Android, there's a lot of stores. So the basic needs is to integrate an SDK with the games for mobile games, so that the games can be compatible with the payment systems, Chinese payment systems, of course, ad systems and other monetization platforms for the games. The games need to be localized, and by that I mean not only the language. The games need to be fully translated into Chinese, the content of the game itself and all, but also localized in the sense of editing the content. If there is any sensitive content in the game that's not compatible with the current political context of China, needless to say. So yeah, and of course we have, like in China, games that are officially published with a publishing license, which is required for premium games and for games that are fully monetized. We had, like, this last year, 2023, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, around 1,000 or a little more. If someone knows exactly, please correct me. So that's really a drop in the water. I mean, compared to amount of games that are released worldwide, right? I mean, just on Steam, we have like 14,000 or more a year. I don't want to misquote anything, but anyway. So there's a lot of opportunities for the other games that don't go through the publishing license route to get to the Chinese market, and then that happens. So, you know, I always tell developers and publishers there's a lot of ways to get to the Chinese market. Just recently, we had that very popular game, Pal World, like the clone of Pokemon, which sold now already 9 million copies, and more than 30% of those units were sold in China, even though the game is not published in China. So that's super interesting, and it's something that's often disregarded by marketing agencies, by publishers in China, and by developers and publishers worldwide. And that's something that's really, I believe, untapped in terms of potential, in terms of marketing, especially, and not only. But yeah, but we help with all that, with APPTUTTI and me personally as well. So yeah, that's it for me.
Thank you, Daniel. And yeah, regarding the number, it's 98 in 2023. So it was up from 44 in 2022. So we in Niko Partners, we track like the numbers of imported games that receive ISBN in China, and we see trends. So we are hoping for the best for like the number of imported games that can be published in China and receive the license. All right, so last but not least, we have Wojtek. And yeah, please, do you have anything to add about the challenges, about the situation in China that you have found through your work at Huqiao?
Yeah, definitely. Because first of all, I'm going to continue the narrative that Daniel started. because these opportunities outside of actually ISBN licenses and different ways to acquire users and not necessarily enter the market directly is something that I specialize in terms, because I started from PC games. So I mostly work with games that are published on Steam and few mobile games. But look, we can talk a lot about Chinese market, how big the opportunity is, and it's true, but there is a huge but, meaning that it's like I turned down quite a few developers who wanted to get an ISBN license to enter this road, because not everyone realizes how challenging it might be. At least 9 months in the process, having to adjust the game. So during my first meetings with publishers or devs, I asked them, look, what is the objective of you entering China? Are you actually trying to reach out to Chinese gamers, Chinese diaspora, or are you trying to enter local distribution platforms? Because these are two different things. I personally know few big publishers hiring more than 300 people who are not in China, but they have more than 20% of their player base uses Chinese. So these are either like Chinese diaspora or people living outside of China, or finding different ways to download those games, very often downloading them directly from their websites. So as it was mentioned, there are different ways in terms of entering the market, and I would differentiate entering the market as opposed to actually user acquisition itself, because slightly different. But in terms of data, I think one of the most important things to remember here is that China is vastly mobile in terms of internet traffic. Over 90% of the internet traffic in China is mobile. So Chinese gamers, 665 million gamers in China right now, majority of them being mobile gamers, 10% being more or less PC gamers. Of course, there's a question, how do we define a gamer? And that is someone right now playing once a week. So that's also something to keep in mind. But generally speaking, when it comes to market potential, it's huge, but in terms of marketing strategy or market entry strategy, there are few different paths to choose from. And the question is, what's the end goal? How long, what are we willing to commit as a publisher or developer? Because the biggest reward obviously is in entering via ISBN licensing, entering distribution platforms, but also keeping in mind monetization model, which we are most likely going to cover later on, but how the market changes. So look, this is a huge topic. I could talk about it for hours, so I'll pass the mic to you, Darren.
All right, thank you, Wojtek. All right, so we heard from everyone regarding like the uniqueness of the Chinese market, how it's fragmented in terms of like the Android environment. There is no single Google Play in China, for example. There's also like the unique app ecosystem with Huawei, Oppo, Weibo, all of these companies, they have their own app stores. There's the dominance of super apps. There's the issue with like the very strong mobile payment sector. There's also like the need to create compatibility with local payment providers, with the local regulations, with the local players. And there's also like the need to know the difference between acquiring users versus just entering China just because. Like those are like the information that we got from like the panelists. So next, in order to know a little bit more in detail about how to succeed in China, we can ask, maybe first we can go to Ernest. In terms of getting like a successful launch in China, and then we have seen like some profitability of your business in China. What would you attribute that as the key factor behind the success and the profitability of Gismart in China?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, as previous speakers mentioned before, we already inside, so we don't have any workarounds payment system. So we constrained, to Chinese laws and Chinese ways of paying for our apps. So I'd say that the most important thing is, as guys already mentioned, to localize your app, localize not only your app and content within the app, but also store pages and everything that goes with it, creatives as well. So we have, first of all, very high level of localization and ads material as well. So we do that precisely. We do have a separate pipeline for creating Chinese creatives. So another thing is that when you enter in Chinese market, you have to make sure that your pricing model is in accordance with what Chinese users are accustomed to see. So it's not like you enter in Chinese market with US prices and have an LTV like you can make millions. At least it was possible maybe before 2020, but then every year we see that Chinese users are, already know how to do unsubscribes and refunds. So price model is the second thing you want to adjust. And the third thing is to learn your tools that you have, learn the platforms. If you do user acquisition by yourself, and we are doing user acquisition mostly by ourselves, so I'd say that we learned major platforms to a degree, then we know how to use them. They're quite flexible, they're quite mature in order of tools that you can use in order to target your audience. I guess these three things are the core. Then you can opt to agencies help with KOLs, key opinion leaders, and UGC in order to promote your app and make a brand awareness campaign, something like that. But I'd say this is more of a supportive role right now. So it's probably all from my side.
Right. Thank you so much, Ernest. And again, regarding like how foreign publishers can find success in China, we can go back to Wojtek, and Huqiao is located in Poland, as you mentioned. But we are curious, why do you choose to work with like Western or like European game studios to publish in China specifically? And can you share about how your team can contribute to the successful publication of like these Western publishers in China?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for the question. And before I answer it directly, I need to give a little bit of background, because the name Huqiao isn't random. Hu is from Huqiao, which literally means amber, and Qiao is from Qiaoliang, which is bridge. So the idea is to start with Western, as to say, developers and publishers, but we are in talks with strategic partners in China, and we are actually, for this to work, we want to work helping Chinese developers and publishers go globally with their games. So that's the first thing to mention. As to general question, why China? I've been me personally connected with and in love with China for over 12 years. I lived in China for 2 years. When I established the company, actually our product market fit wasn't at the beginning even in game dev. But we found out that game dev is actually this very interesting niche in which the most important thing for gamers to be able to, like both ways, Chinese gamers to interact with Western games and the other way around, are distribution platforms. So distribution platforms being key to the whole thing. So what we do is actually focus on different distribution platforms, and in China it's also fragmented both in terms of Android market, but also I think interesting perspective on this would be mentioning Heybox, which is distribution platform for PC, an app that connects with Steam that is. So to answer your question as to how we believe we contribute to understanding Chinese market, basically from company's perspective, getting revenue from this particular geographical region. When it comes to mobile, we focus on user acquisition campaigns, on creating verticals that speak the Gen Z language. I have a pretty young team who understands Chinese, who knows how to basically create engaging content. But our biggest case study wasn't actually full on ISBN and entering the market. It was reverse engineering of marketing strategy and efforts undertaken by Chinese partners of a local European publisher. Because many Western companies face, when entering China, from many calls I've had and different events we participated in, one of the main challenges that they faced, and they told us, was lack of transparency, not because of the ill will or anything like that, but different way of working and different pace, basically different culture. So cultural differences and language differences found the answer in the way the companies operated. So European publisher wanted to understand what is happening on the market, but didn't want to challenge their Chinese partner as to not to let them lose face or damage their relationship in any way. So they wanted to get a better understanding of what is going on and how can they contribute to it, to make results better, to impact the whole project. So I believe it's important to talk about these things, to understand them, to understand the dynamic even on an operational level. Because very often it's the question of, okay, so how exactly does this platform work? Where does traffic come from? And talking with a lot of executives as, look, tell it to me in 30 seconds. Explain it to me like I'm 5. It's challenging sometimes to boil down the complexness of Chinese market to a short introduction, but I think that's one of the things that I want to bring to the table.
All right, thank you so much, Wojtek. And you mentioned some interesting stuff about user acquisition and how it's different in China. There's different culture. There's like the need to save face and like all that. So we can move to Charlie because this is something related to what SocialPeta is doing, which is helping out with user acquisition. So SocialPeta has both clients in China and outside of China, just like all of us here. So we want to know how does user acquisition differ between Chinese communities and like those outside of China? And what do you think is the Chinese way to best achieve user acquisition? Charlie, you're still muted, sorry.
Okay, sorry, I mute. Okay, as I mentioned at the beginning, that SocialPeta is ad intelligence tool which support app publishers and developers for the user acquisition. So, however, user acquisition and in strategies are different in China, between China and outside of China. So due to like culture differences, like user behavior and the digital landscape. So, and let's say some key differences and the Chinese way to achieve the user acquisition. Firstly, local media platforms. Yeah, in China, user acquisition heavily relies on the local media platforms such as Tencent, ByteDance, Alibaba, etc., which have a massive user base. Yeah. These platforms provide various advertising options, including ads, posts, influencers, Yeah, but outside of China, particular platform like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube are commonly used for user acquisition. So SocialPeta has the data both for Chinese domestic platforms and also the global platforms. So from where app developers can get the ad intelligence data from China and globally. Okay, secondly, for app stores, also as mentioned before, apart from the media platforms, there are multi app stores in China. User acquisition strategies often involve optimizing app store listings. So and by app store ads, by ASO techniques. However, outside of China, user acquisition strategies focus more on App Store and Google Play Store. Besides the local medias and app stores in China, there are several local platforms with a different audience. For example, like TapTap. TapTap is a gaming platform that provides the social community for tens of millions of gamers. So it offers a wide range of mobile games for users to download, to play. So this platform also includes features such as game recommendation, reviews, comments, rankings, allowing users to connect with other gamers. So they can share their experience, they can engagement in conversations related to mobile game. Yeah, and secondly, Bilibili. Bilibili is most popular platform for young gamers in China. So it's a video sharing platform that focuses on animation, comics, and game ACG game contents. Yeah. So apart from these two, during the last 1-2 years, WeChat and Douyin game platforms are playing a very important roles for game industry. Many developers they started to publish their the web PC and not PC web games to these two platforms. So it's important to note that there are several general differences, and the user acquisition strategies mostly depend on the local platforms. Yeah, that's all.
Okay, thank you so much, Charlie. So you mentioned the importance of understanding the local media platform, and then understanding the different environment in China with like the likes of TapTap, Bilibili, and now also like Douyu or Weibo and everything. So yeah, and then we can move to Daniel because he also works with understanding like how to enter China from APPTUTTI side. So for Daniel, what are the current trends that you see in terms of game publishing in China when you're trying to enter China, especially after the announcement of like the new rules to reduce spending on video games, although like it was later retracted, but we want to hear more from your side as well. Daniel, you're muted, I think. No? All right, so we should not mention regulation, I think. Anyway, while we're waiting for Daniel to reconnect, we can have an open session for the audience first, I think. Anyone from the audience who want to ask anyone here, you can raise your hand and then please say your question. And then if you have someone that you want to ask them directly, please also mention like the person. So yeah, please. I'm opening the floor to the audience. We have around 30 people in the audience. So yeah, don't be shy, you can ask away. All right. If there are no questions so far, is Daniel back yet? Not yet. So I do have a question for everyone that wants to answer. That's fine. So here at Niko Partners, we project that China's gaming size is probably going to still going to grow, although like slower compared to like the pandemic years, definitely. especially with like the new upcoming regulations that might or might not happen. And there's also like the issue with aging population in China. We want to know what do you think will be the next big thing in China in terms of gaming, that if you have any if you heard anything about that.
Can I start?
Sure, Wojtek, please.
Okay. Okay. First of all, last year in November, when I attended We Play in Shanghai, it was surprising to so one of the biggest PC events, but with also some mobile game developers and publishers. And my prediction is that the PC ecosystem will be growing, especially domestic developers trying to go public, go global with their games. There are some challenges to overcome there, because when it comes to the games, very often they are adjusted to domestic markets. But I'm also hoping for more AAA games coming out of China. But from some internal conversations I've had, I think that regulatory boards and possibly the government might be. I'm also hoping that is going to happen, provide more support for domestic game developers and, generally speaking, the whole ecosystem. Because looking at the narrative on the highest level, I'm talking about Xi speech before, and talking about games as this digital opium, which the narrative kind of shifted right now, even though there are some heavy regulations in mobile, but with monetization models. But I think that with the challenges on economical level that China might be, that not China only, but might be facing, gaming and supporting the ecosystem might be the way to actually foster the growth in not only gaming but tech in general, IT sector. And I'm hoping to see that. I don't know what's your opinion on this fellow panelists, and would be glad to hear that.
Yeah. So anyone wants to respond to Wojciech's prediction that there will be hopefully more like AAA games, and there's hopefully more support from the regulatory side in China? Oh, Ernest, please.
Yeah, sure. I mean, this is an interesting topic that Wojtek mentioned, that Chinese games are made for internal market, and they probably have a huge amount of, I'd say, Chinese culture within them that might be not understood by Western audience. Let's put it like that, not only Western, but around the world. And this is two-sided street, I guess. Maybe they will start small by bringing games that are being, understood by both sides, of China outside and inside. And that is, I guess they'll probably start from that. And touching a bit on regulation side, it's, every year it's been more fierce. Regulations that we have right now, we couldn't think of maybe a few years ago. So there is nothing we can do. We have to comply. I know, at least for a mobile market, I know what Chinese government is probably trying to achieve is trying to wipe out all these bad practices that developers had in China before, tricking people for the money, and that's actually damaged user experience. But I also hope that in order to foster this industry, Chinese government will probably help domestic firms.
Just
Sure,
may I-
Wojtek, please.
yeah, just a quick note on that, but that's something that kind of frustrates me on a deeper level. As a person who is really deep into Chinese or tries to understand culture, history, philosophy, literature, there's so much depth in it, and there's so much untapped potential in terms of, you know, telling the stories. And it goes both ways, because if you are and talking to the audience right now, if you are a developer or a publisher, actually when you're thinking about entering Chinese market, adding some elements that will speak to the audience on a more personal or on a level like based on history, philosophy, relating to them in many ways, is also a good way to start the communication. So it goes both ways. But generally speaking, I'd love to see more games about Chinese culture generally, or inspired by or East Asian.
Here. Okay, so thank you so much, Ernest and Wojtek. So, Daniel, before you cut off a little bit, we discussed like the next big thing from China, and so some of the issues are like with the upcoming regulations, with the situation in terms of support, and the situation in terms of how Chinese games are mostly targeting like domestic markets, so it's kind of hard to export outside of China. So from your experience, from your perspective, what like do you see in terms of like the trends of publishing games in China? Yeah, please.
Yeah, sorry for disconnecting there for a second earlier. And thank you for your clarification, by the way, about the numbers from the publishing license that you said way back. Just to clarify, I meant all games that got the publishing license. So that's why, yeah, that's why I mentioned like 1,000 or something. But yeah, about trends, of course, with the regulations, most of the regulations, I mean, there's some positive to it, like the proposed regulations, by the way, because we still don't know if it's going to be executed or not, and to what extent exactly. The positive one is the authorities, they want to put the deadline to 60 days for games to process the publishing license, the ISBN, the ones that do get it. So that's a positive. That would accelerate things if it comes to pass. Regarding the restrictions for minors, for playing time and all that, I mean, obviously, that pushes developers and publishers in China in particular, you know, besides the whole thing about investing in international companies, in investing in production outside of China, besides that, but even within China, it moves publishers to really rethink and to invest more in single player experiences. Of course, this is still a minority, it's still a niche in China. Mobile and online experiences are, you know, they are just the main, they are the main the main action in gaming in China for many reasons, historical reasons as well, recently, I mean, from the last 30 years. But we are seeing I wouldn't say a shift, but we are seeing a growth for single player experiences, and experiences that don't depend so much on always online gaming. Like this last year in 2023, I believe the second best-selling game in China, Chinese game, was that full motion video, that dating sim called damn it, I'm blanking. Love is All Around, I believe that was the name of the game. So, you know, that's something that visual novels have been kind of popular among a certain amount of gamers in China, but now it really exploded in the last, very recently, in the last 2 to 3 months, although the production of some of these have come from before, even during the pandemic. But this is really, so if we're going to talk about trends, we can say that, we can talk about that. Besides that, I mean, just trends in terms of the actual games and the tastes of gamers and consumers in China. I always tend to tell, because developers, and I'm sorry if I'm going on a tangent here, but developers, one of the things they always ask me, or a lot of them ask me, is like, what should we do to make the game more interesting for Chinese audiences? And I always tell them, just make a good game. It doesn't matter. You don't need to put dragons or Chinese decor in the game to make it more popular. I always remind people, the most popular games in China in the last 20 years were World of Warcraft, PUBG, Counter-Strike, and a bunch of other games that have zero Chinese elements. So this happens all over the world. Content is king. If you want to have a successful game, you know, not talking about distribution and all that stuff, but just in terms of content, the game, you need to have a good game. Another advice I always give to developers is not always, but many of them come with that preconceived idea that, you know, China, Japan, Korea, they all kind of fall into the same bag. And obviously that's very wrong on many, in many ways. But again, like, you don't need to try to please a particular market. It's like Japan back in the 80s and in the 90s. Japanese developers also had that idea, you know, oh, how can we conquer the Western market? Do we need to make more action-based games or whatever? And no, turns out, you know, games like Final Fantasy and very Japanese games, they're very popular worldwide. So, you know, for Chinese developers trying to export as a trend, just be true to yourself, just make good games. They don't need to be particularly Chinese, or they don't need to particularly appeal to the Western world. I mean, one of the most hyped games right now we have coming out of China is Wukong, right? Black Myth, which hopefully will come out this summer. So that's you know, that's it. And for games from the outside who want to enter China, it's the same thing. You don't need to put red on your game. You don't need to put Kung Fu or whatever. Just make a good game, deal with your partners, with your publishers, let them deal as much as they can because they know the market better when it comes to distribution, marketing, user acquisition, all that stuff that's like the heavy work. But when it comes to the game itself, you know, if you can go through the publishing license, do it. If you have to edit the content, do it if you can't. If your game is impossible to launch in China officially, like say a GTA or something like that, which would never go through the you know, you can still do it. You can still include Chinese language in the game. It will find its audience in China, just like games like Cyberpunk did and many others that were not distributed officially in China, but sold by the millions, like Animal Crossing, whatever. I could give an infinite list of games. So that's in terms of trends. It's there's no trends. It's just make it good, localize your game at least, and find a good partner. If you do want to go through the publishing license route, find a good publishing partner, and that's very important. And yeah, again, I could talk about this for hours, but yeah, that's my advice.
Okay, thank you so much, Daniel. That's a very like interesting approach. Again, content is king, right? So we have reached like the edge of the session. So if there are no more questions from the audience, I think I can ask one last question for everyone on the panel. So can you guys provide at least one suggestion or tip for people who are hesitant but want to enter the Chinese mobile market? I think we can start from Charlie.
Okay. My suggestion is the same as Daniel. That if you want to enter the China market, mobile market, is to collaborate with a local Chinese partner. Yeah, this can help to mitigate the challenges to enter the China market. So working with a reliable local partner with experiences in Chinese market, industry can provide the valuable insights into the consumer behavior and the market trends and the legal and the regulations. So they can help navigate the unique culture and the business landscape. So to make sure a smooth entry into the market. So SocialPeta is a China-based company, but we are not the publisher, but we have hundreds of partners in China, like developers, like publishers, like service providers, or mobile app ecosystem. So we are pleased to introduce to you. You can reach out to us if you have any requirement. Yeah, that's all.
Thank you so much, Charlie. And yeah, please check their website. They have a nice, interesting looking thing going there. All right. So next, Wojtek, maybe you can also provide us with like one suggestion or tip.
Yeah, I would just ask, can you afford not to? So reverse question, because at the end of the day, we are talking about biggest mobile market, and can you afford the opportunity cost? Just start considering it, because the process might, like, even these decisions are made on a strategic level and require quite a lot of back and forth. So I strongly advise to start considering it and learning about it from on our LinkedIn, on pages of all the partners here. Start gathering information, learning more about, and taking even baby steps towards China.
Okay, thank you so much. All right,
Thank-
Ernest, what about you?
I'd say that it's probably, as we mentioned, two-way street. Maybe you can also, by entering China, learn something and take it and implement it elsewhere in other markets. So yeah, you can learn from China as well. That's probably will be my small contribution.
Okay, and Leslie, Daniel, what's your suggestion?
Yeah, I would just say, and maybe this goes against my interests, but I would just say really evaluate carefully, according to your game, according to the content that you have, what's the best way to get into China with that content. Don't believe in like one formula that fits it all. Don't go for that. Always try to look for second opinions and third opinions. You know, like it was mentioned before by others, there's not always full transparency, and sometimes, very often, it's not for malicious reasons. It's just to help to make things go quicker and easier for the developers and the publishers that want to launch in China. But just try to talk to as many people as you can, and people from well, I was gonna say people from China, not to, you know, not to say that people outside of China or that are not Chinese like myself wouldn't know, but try to get in contact with people that really know the market very well, and just evaluate carefully, case by case. There's no one fit all for gaming, I believe, and that's from my experience. Yeah, so that's my advice, and yeah, thank you.
Daniel. So we have reached like the end of the session. We have discussed a lot in this past 50 minutes. So we have discussed the Chinese app and games market, the competitive situation within it, the rise of super apps, the dominance of mobile payment and mobile access in China. Like I think Wojtek mentioned, 90% of internet traffic in China is mobile. And then we also discussed a little bit about the uniqueness of the Chinese system, the huge opportunity, the huge market that it entails, more than like 40 billion in terms of games market alone, mobile games market alone. And then we also discussed the need to, like, content is king, localize your app. We need to adjust like the pricing. We need to use local distribution platform. We need to use local marketing contents. We need to understand like the culture. We need to understand the media. So all of these different things are what makes Chinese market unique, or what makes it hard as well to understand. And that's why like we all here to help you. For example, like if you want to know more, you can also go to nikopartners.com and check like our reports on China. We have a lot. So yeah, I think that will be my summary for this session. If there are no more questions or concerns from the audience, I think that will be the end of it. So thank you so much, everyone, for participating.
Sorry, Durang, to
Yeah,
interrupt. I see two questions from the
yeah,
audience.
sure, please. Is there
Uh,
any question?
Yeah, Q&A.
Because I couldn't check it. Is there?
Yeah, there are two questions. Okay, I can say first first of
Please.
all, what about the hyper casual games? Is there a way to launch them in China? This is a question.
So anyone wants to answer that? Because I couldn't find it here. Sorry.
Did you say hyper casual games?
Yes.
Because I also
Yes.
cannot see. Well, I'm sorry to jump in, but I mean, APPTUTTI, most of the game, not most, but a lot of the games we launch are hyper casual games. So definitely, I would say that's a big portion actually of the market. So yeah, that's yeah.
All right. Can someone read the second question, because I couldn't find it on my screen? Apologies.
Yeah, I can do it. Thank you for the answers and the presentation. Apart from PC and mobile, can you share your forecasts on the upcoming trends in VR gaming in China and the transformation in user acquisition strategies? Anyone wants to take that?
One wants to answer that?
Because from my experience, maybe I'll start and pass the mic to someone else. I had to I had more than 10 companies reaching out to me with their VR projects willing to enter China. But once they realize that they need to find local hardware partner, like the process is longer, they got discouraged. So so there is that. So how do you guys approach this?
Well, I would just say, sorry, I would just say that if anything, the Chinese market is perhaps more familiar than any other market in terms of VR, in terms of hardware itself, not perhaps in terms of games, just because there was this huge boom in like 2015, 16. I'm in Shenzhen, and many tech companies here were doing VR headsets at the time. They pivoted to that. That was when it was the first boom. And still today, you see a lot of arcades in shopping malls that have VR cabinets are VR games. So just in terms of mainstream perception of VR, I think there's a bigger penetration of VR in China than perhaps anywhere else in that regard. When it comes to privately owned VR headsets like Quests, whatever, PSVRs and others, I don't have the data to back that up. Perhaps the Niko Partners have. I don't know. I don't know about that. I would guess that it's not that great still, but we could say the same about everywhere else in the world, I guess, right now. So, but just in terms of casually people's perceptions of VR, I think people are very aware of it. So there's a lot of potential in that, I would say, from a certain perspective.
Right. So I just found out like where the questions are. Apologies. So yeah, as Daniel mentioned, yeah, we do conduct research and projects on like VR gaming in China. And in terms of the perspective, the Chinese gamers, they really like VR. They are very aware about VR. But again, similar to other places in the world, the development is not that not that big. We still need more time. There still need like some infrastructure changes. There still need more technological changes that need to happen in order to VR to spread more, including in China. So I think that's what we can mention about VR in China. All right. Any other questions? I'm very sorry I couldn't see that tab here before. I think we have answered Technation's question on VR, and there's also another question on the hyper casual games. Is there a way to launch them in China? And it's already answered. The answer is yes, you can. But yeah, you need help, and you need to know more about the market first. You can't just like jump in and publish it without care. Everyone, thank you so much everyone who attends the event, and thank you so much all the panelists here. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye.